What is up, heroes? This is MidniteZer0 and welcome to week 9 of Heat of the Week. And I hope you guys are excited for the upcoming week, but of course, before we get into that, before we see whose playoff chances continue to live or die off, sadly, let's take a look at the previous week and see what made it so fun to look at. So, first of all, I want to get into the first Pokemon, Vikavolt from A-Drive, coach of the Minnesota Vikavolts. Now, before I talk about this set, I do want to address something. A lot of you guys commented in the last episode claiming, like, hello, Vikavolt, like, where was Vikavolt on the standings? This is Heat of the Week. This is not a most valuable Pokemon of the week. This is not a which Pokemon had the best kill-death ratio. This is not a which Pokemon was the most useful. This is Heat of the Week. It's gotta be something a little bit outside the box to be considered for Heat of the Week. Yes, Vikavolt did ridiculously well last week, but no, it wasn't anything other than standard. So that's why it wasn't Heat of the Week. And going forward, that should be a good rule of thumb. And at the end of the day, this is also my opinion. I ask for your guys' opinion on what you thought was Heat, what you think maybe a little bit differently, if you'd rank things differently, because I'm interested in that too. This isn't like I'm saying like the end-all be-all, like this is the absolute Heat of the Week, and this is the determined ranking of all of the Heat. There's no other possibilities. Like, these are my thoughts on it, and this is more so than anything a form of appreciation of the Heat, of the creativity of the coaches. So let's just enjoy that, please. But anyways, getting into this Vikavolt, what is pretty cool about it, Vikavolt is very much crippled by its speed, but if you adjust for that, if you account for that with something like an agility, for example, you can actually really effectively sweep given its massive special attack stat. So A-Drive this week bringing a modest max special attack with just enough speed to outspeed all the relevant threats at +2. I believe an Adamant Diggersby is what it outspeeds, but the real key here is pretty much the non-stab Z move in Corkscrew Crash with Flash Cannon. Basically, the one thing that can counter a lot of, typical switch-ins, maybe a mon or two that after rocks can take a one, like even modest max special attack hit from, Bug Buzz, Thunderbolt, it's 2 stabs, but something like here in Black comes in, you can just absolutely blow right through that with a Corkscrew Crash, really enabling a sweep. Sadly, it didn't get to actually do that during the match this week, unlike the previous week, but again, it was pretty cool. Wish I could have seen it do more, but that is that. Moving on to the next Pokemon, we've got Rotom W from Jodor, coach of the Seattle Sea Kings. This is a really Heat set in my opinion. I do think it didn't really do nearly as much as Jodor hoped, which is why it's only number 4, but it is incredibly Heat. We've got a max special attack modest Rotom with Darkinium Z Snatch. Now, what to say about this? I think after having watched a little bit of the team builder, this Rotom is primarily there to steal a lot of potential boosts. If you look at Dan or A-Drive's team, he's got a lot of Pokemon that can set up, whether it's Morning Sun with Necrozma, Calm Mind, SD, and Astipla, and Fernape. It could be Synthesis from, Shaman. It can be like the previous one, Vikavolt, it could be Agility, and this Snatch is there to to steal all those recovery moves, all those boosts, and Z-Snatch in particular doubles Rotom W's speed. So with a little bit of speed investment and the double speed, he's outspeeding almost anything, and the light screen is there to help him live because he did invest so much in special attack, and I haven't talked about it yet, but the special attack I believe there is just to get some good hits off before eventually switching out. And I think the main reason for it, the main thing he wanted to hit hard with this was Necrozma given by the Shadow Ball. I personally don't agree too much with the Volt Switch, but it is there to do what Volt Switch does, and that is to get momentum when necessary, though I can't imagine it being too useful after having snatched potential boosts or using Z-Snatch to get your +2 speed. But really cool set. Really cool theory, never seen a Rotom used like this before. I wish it could have done more, but sadly, it didn't really come to full fruition. Moving on to the third Pokemon of Heat of the Week, we've got Latias from the Exception, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and this is one of the mons that actually put in work, so that's why you're seeing the video clip on the side. It's a really cool trapping Latias. It's got Whirlpool. That's the main Heat here. It's got Whirlpool to trap particular Pokemon. He was really anticipating to trap a Lomomola with this, as it tried to Wish Pass, as it, tried to take Draco Meteors. It doesn't take a whole bunch from Thunderbolt, but if Whirlpool trapped, it takes a little bit of damage every single turn, and it can't switch. It can't get that Regenerator health, and he's free to go for Thunderbolts, which are doing plenty with all 252 special attack EVs in that special attack stat. Now, the Bondberry, I'm not 100% sure about the Bondberry's use, but I'd imagine when looking at the opposing Latios from Professor Willow, it was there so that this Latios could potentially tank a Draco, and then after the two, special attack drops, can recover, can potentially Whirlpool, and then KO the opposing Latios back with its own Draco Meteors plus the Whirlpool damage and such, while being able to recover off due to Latios' better natural bulk and probably because of that 148 HP investment. So it's pretty cool. In the game itself, it managed to trap a Regirock, which was Professor Willow's special wall, so that was really cool. And yeah, it was effective. It came in looking to trap something, looking to trap this potential special tank, plow the way for the rest of his team, and it did it. And it's pretty heat, so good stuff to the exception. Moving on to number 2 for Heat of the Week, we've got Venusaur from Goffy's coach of the Hampshire Haunters. This is Goffy's debut on Heat of the Week, and this is a really cool set. I have never ever seen a Dragonium Z Adamant Venusaur. It was primarily there to kind of soft check a Haxorus, which could come in on Giga Drains potentially and hit really hard with Earthquakes or with, an Outrage, of course. But Venusaur does get access to Outrage, and with the Dragonium Z with an Adamant max attack nature, maybe even after a Growth in the Sun, this thing hits so hard, and that would have been a complete surprise. I never in a million years would have seen this coming, but man, it's a really cool set, and sadly it didn't really get to do that, but the mere heat of this Mon, and the fact that it didn't come to fruition because the rest of the team did so well, kind of helps it out a little bit. But man, I would have loved to have seen this Mon actually get to go for that Dragonium Z, that what's it called, Devastating Drake. That would have been incredible. So good stuff to Goffy's. I hope you continue bringing heat. And guys, I do want to talk about real quick before we get into the Heat of the Week, and before we even talk about the honorable mentions, a little bit of transparency. Every single week, I only have so much time. I watch every single battle from at least one perspective. Sometimes if it's like an incredible battle and I really like the coaches, I'll watch it from 2 perspectives. I watch some of the team builders. I don't watch every single one. So I know a lot about the Pokemon, what their sets were and such, but I don't know everything after, having watched all the battles. So I go into our Discord and I ask the coaches. Was there any heat I missed? Here's what I'm thinking for Heat of the Week so far. This is one of those mons I would have missed. So thank you to Goffy's for letting me know about this Pokemon. And you might note that there are certain coaches that show up in this series more than others. There are a couple reasons for that. One, typically the teams that don't need to run as much heat to do well won't run heat. And if they do, they probably won't do as well because the standard stuff works well. Second of all, if a team does need to run heat in order to do well, they probably will continually do so. Third of all, if a coach is already good at, using heat and building heat and, running that each week, they're probably going to continue to do so. So those are some main factors why you might see some similar names. Also, the more a coach cares about heat and enjoys heat, the more likely they are to respond to me with their sets, to nominate their Pokemon for Heat of the Week, and to let me know if I did miss something in Heat of the Week. So again, I'm not trying to play favorites. I think some people just simply more often run heat, and some people are better at building heat, and some people just need to run heat more than others. Some people don't. It's not the end of the world if you don't make Heat of the Week. It's just, again, a fun appreciation of heat. And with that said, let's appreciate some of the mons that didn't quite make the cut, but were still pretty cool. The first of which is going to be from Chris Cobain, coach of the Philadelphia Brave Berries. We've got a Perish Song Primarina, which is really cool. From Skylar, we have a Curse Umbreon, which, again, isn't too crazy, but it was pretty cool in that it was a Baton Pass Curse set to help build up for that Slowbro that he has. And then, moving on, we have Taunt Keldeo from Brady. Not super heat, but it was really effective, and Taunt isn't super standard on Keldeo. From Gearhart, we have a Charge Beam Bronzong, which was pretty neat, and again, did have a little bit of effectiveness during the match. King Bub ran Acid Downpour Greninja. Now, Gunk Shot on Greninja isn't too out of the ordinary, so that's why, you know, it's not here. But Acid Downpour is pretty cool. And then lastly, we have from Papa C, coach of the New York Lynx, we have Psych Up Klefki to help potentially beat a boosting up Mega Sableye. So that's pretty cool. And those are all the honorable mentions for this week. So with that said, sorry for making you guys wait so long. Let's get into the final mon of Heat of the Week. The Heat of the Week for week number 9, I believe, is going to be Gyarados. From Professor Willow, coach of the United Kingler. This probably isn't that surprising to anyone who watched this week's matches. This Gyarados is really cool. It's, you know, max attack with just enough speed to outspeed relevant threats at +1. I forget exactly what it's looking to outspeed. I believe an Adamant Mega Absol. So at +1, it outspeeds plenty of threats, and with Waterfall and Crunch, it just plows through so much of the Exceptions team. But Ferrothorn is in the way. Ferrothorn was the main thing stopping Willow from getting a sweep with this mon. So Professor Willow ran Fire Blast on Mega Gyarados, and that's why you see the plenty of special attack EVs in there, so that with that, just to do as much damage as possible to Ferrothorn. And it was really funny watching Willow talk about it. He mentioned that he could run Flamethrower, and it would be the safer play because it would still 2-hit KO regardless, and that was necessary, you know, even with Fire Blast to go for 2 of them, and it's more accurate and such. But legends are made from going for Fire Blast and connecting twice, not from going for Flamethrower twice. So that's why he ran Fire Blast, and this Gyarados did exactly what Willow wanted it to. He Dragon Danced up, he Waterfalled and crunched through everything, but that Ferrothorn, which he Fire Blasted twice and got a clean sweep. So really good stuff to Professor Willow for, you know, coming up with a creative set that led him to a solid victory this past week. And that's all I have for Heat of the Week this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below of my rankings. You know, if you guys have any comments on some of the more meta stuff, so the transparency, you know, about the series as a whole, if you have any ideas on that, let me know as well. And I can tell you guys from my psychic abilities, there's probably going to be some intense heat as we get closer to the playoffs. So be sure to check out plenty of these matches and get hyped for your favorite coaches, and hopefully they bring some creativity. Hopefully we get to show them off in Heat of the Week. I'm hoping we get to show everyone at some point. But anyways, that's all for this episode. I'll see you guys next week for Heat of the Week. But until then, this is MidniteZer0, and this mission is complete.